Imagine getting a quarter back in change, maybe from a grocery store, maybe from a gas station, and instead of dropping it into your cup holder, you actually look at it. You notice something different, a new face, powerful pose, and then you see a tiny P mint mark near the date. First, it feels ordinary. But what if that small 2022 P quarter in your hand isn't just spare change? What if one rare version of it has sold for as much as $155,000? In 2022, the United States Mint launched a historic new chapter in American coinage, the American Women Quarters Program. For the first time, circulating quarters would honor influential women who shaped American culture, history, and civil rights. The very first release in that groundbreaking series featured the legendary poet, author, and civil rights activist Maya Angelou. This was not just another coin design. It was a cultural moment. The year 2022 itself carried a unique atmosphere. The world was emerging from pandemic uncertainty. Conversations about representation, equality, and historical recognition were louder than ever. Across America, there was a growing movement to spotlight voices that had been overlooked for generations. And now, one of those voices would appear on a U.S. quarter. The obverse still carried the familiar portrait of George Washington, originally sculpted by Laura Garden Fraser in 1932 and adapted for modern coinage. But the reverse had transformed completely. Maya Angelou is depicted with her arms uplifted, a gesture of openness and strength. Behind her, a rising sun and a soaring bird evoke imagery from her autobiography. I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. It is a design filled with symbolism, resilience, and motion. The coin was struck at multiple mints, including Philadelphia, marked by the small but crucial P. That tiny letter may seem insignificant, but to collectors it is everything. It identifies origin. It distinguishes production batches. And sometimes it marks the difference between common and extraordinary. Technically, the 2022 P quarter follows standard modern clad composition. A pure copper core layered between outer sheets of cupronickel. It weighs 5.67 grams, measures 24.26 millimeters in diameter, and features a reeded edge. Billions were struck for circulation. On paper, nothing about that suggests rarity. But here is where things shift. Whenever a new design enters mass production, the transition period can produce unexpected anomalies. Dies are adjusted, machines are calibrated, pressure settings are refined. And in those early moments of production, subtle and sometimes dramatic errors can slip through. Collectors began noticing unusual features on some 2022 P Maya Angelou quarters. There were reports of die chips that appeared like extra marks near Washington's profile. Others showed die cracks running across the surface. Some pieces displayed striking weaknesses or doubled elements in lettering. A few rare examples revealed dramatic die clashes, where the obverse and reverse designs collided internally, leaving ghost-like impressions. Most of these were minor, but a handful were not. And when you combine a first-year design, national cultural significance, and a confirmed mint error, interest skyrockets. Now add another layer, condition. Modern coins circulate quickly. They get scratched, dinged, and worn within weeks. Finding a high-grade example, MS-67, MS-68, or even higher, is far harder than most people realize. In numismatics, mint state grading reflects coins that have never entered circulation and retain sharp detail, full luster, and minimal imperfections. That an ordinary 2022 P quarter in circulated condition is worth 25 cents. An uncirculated example in decent condition might be worth a few dollars. But a rare, dramatic error coin graded at the highest levels? That becomes something entirely different. As word spread through collecting communities, serious numismatists began hunting rolls directly from banks. Online forums lit up with close-up images. Magnified photos circulated, with arrows pointing to unusual die breaks and doubling. What started as curiosity turned into a modern treasure hunt. And then came the moment that changed everything. One exceptional 2022 P Maya Angelou quarter, featuring a significant mint error and preserved in extraordinary high mint state condition, entered the marketplace. Experts verified the error. The grade came back astonishingly high. Collectors understood immediately. This was not just a coin. It was a first-year cultural issue with a confirmed production anomaly in near-perfect preservation. Bidding intensified. The final result stunned observers. Depending on condition and the specific error type, a rare high-grade example reached figures between $61,000 and $155,000 for a quarter. Think about that for a second. A coin you might drop into a parking meter, suddenly valued like a luxury car. This is the electric thrill of modern coin collecting. It is not just about ancient silver or gold doubloons. It is about understanding that rarity can be born yesterday, that history can be struck into metal and released into circulation quietly, without fanfare. And perhaps the most astonishing part is this: most of these coins were distributed through ordinary banking channels. They were rolled, shipped, spent, and mixed into everyday commerce, which means the possibility still exists. Somewhere right now, a 2022 P. Maya Angelou quarter with a rare error could be sitting unnoticed in a drawer, a coin jar, or a child's piggy bank. Waiting. If you have this coin in this condition, verified error, high mint state grade, you might be holding one of the luckiest small treasures in the world. That is not hype. That is the reality of how modern numismatic markets behave when rarity, cultural importance, and condition collide. So tonight, before you ignore that quarter on your dresser, take a closer look. Check the mint mark. Examine the surfaces under light. Look for unusual doubling, cracks, chips, or striking anomalies. Compare it carefully, because treasure does not always announce itself. Sometimes it looks exactly like spare change, and the next life-changing discovery might already be in your pocket. Imagine reaching into your pocket and pulling out a quarter from 1966. At first glance, it seems ordinary, silver-toned, worn slightly from decades of circulation. Just another coin among many. But then you notice something off. A doubled image in the lettering, a misaligned edge, a subtle imperfection that your eye instinctively catches. Could this unassuming coin, sitting quietly in your hand, actually be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? What you're holding might be one of the rarest 1966 Washington quarters ever struck. A true numismatic gem that could fetch between $154,000 and $297,1966 was a year of transformation and tension in the United States. The nation was deep into the Vietnam War, grappling with cultural shifts, and witnessing the rise of civil rights movements that would define a generation. Globally, the Cold War was influencing economies, politics, and innovation at every turn. Amidst all this, the U.S. Mint was producing coins not just as currency but as symbols of stability and continuity. The Washington quarter, first issued in 1932, had already become an icon of American coinage. Its obverse, featuring the dignified profile of George Washington, was the work of sculptor John Flanagan, whose design captured both historical reverence and artistic elegance. On the reverse, a simple bald eagle perched on a bundle of arrows, symbolizing strength and vigilance, completed a design that had endured through decades. In 1965, silver content in quarters was eliminated due to rising metal costs, making 1,966 quarters-clad coins composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel. Each coin weighed precisely 5.67 grams, measured 24.26 millimeters in diameter, and bore a reeded edge. They were produced in vast quantities at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, though the mint mark or its absence can become a critical factor in rarity and collector value. Yet even in mass production, perfection is not guaranteed. Die errors, misalignments, and striking anomalies occasionally slipped past quality control. And some 1966 Washington quarters emerged from the mint with dramatic errors, double dies that replicated lettering, off-center strikes, die cracks, and even die clashes that left ghostly impressions of one side on the other. Most coins passed unnoticed, becoming part of everyday commerce. A few, however, escaped into circulation with these rare imperfections, waiting decades for someone with sharp eyes to notice. Collectors chase these error coins not only for their rarity, but also for the thrill of discovery. Holding a coin that bears a minting mistake is like holding a fragment of history that could have easily been destroyed, lost, or melted down. The psychological thrill, the idea that you might stumble across something extraordinary in pocket change, is part of what makes numismatics so captivating. Condition is another critical factor. Coins graded mint state, MS, such as MS-65, MS-66, or higher retain their original luster and detail. Even a significant error can lose value if the coin is heavily circulated. Conversely, an error coin preserved in pristine condition can achieve astronomical prices. It's the combination of rarity, error type, and perfect preservation that turns a simple quarter into a potentially life-changing treasure. Real-life stories underscore this thrill. Coins with dramatic errors have appeared in rolls from banks, in jars left untouched for decades, or tucked away in the change of unsuspecting individuals. A collector might notice a subtle doubling or misalignment, send it for certification, and suddenly realize they own something extraordinary. And indeed, a rare, high-grade 1966 Washington quarter with a notable error has sold for figures between $154,000 and $297,000, confirming that fortune can hide in plain sight. This is why every coin in your possession could hold untold potential. That quarter on your dresser, that coin in your wallet, even the change scattered in a drawer. Each one deserves a careful glance. Look at the edges, inspect the lettering, check the mint mark. Hold it under light. Rotate it slowly. Sometimes what seems like ordinary currency is actually a hidden gem, a piece of history that escaped the presses with a story to tell. If you have a 1966 Washington quarter in this condition, with a confirmed error, you might be holding one of the luckiest small treasures in the world. It's a reminder that history, chance, and keen observation can intersect in the most unexpected ways. Treasure doesn't always come in chests buried under the earth. Sometimes, it quietly rests in your pocket, waiting for someone who notices the extraordinary in the ordinary. So tonight, before you dismiss that loose change, examine it. You might just be holding a piece of history and a fortune that could change everything. The year 1978 itself was charged with energy. America was in the midst of economic shifts, dealing with inflation concerns and emerging cultural changes. Globally, the Cold War continued to shape international dynamics, and new technologies began to influence everyday life. In this climate, the United States Mint produced billions of quarters, not just as currency, but as symbols of stability, continuity, and national pride. The Washington quarter had long been a staple of American coinage. Its obverse, featuring the dignified profile of George Washington, was crafted by John Flanagan in 1932. The reverse displayed the iconic bald eagle, perched on a bundle of arrows with wings spread, symbolizing strength, vigilance, and unity. For decades, this design became a silent companion to everyday transactions, passing through hands across the nation, unnoticed but ever present. By 1978, the quarters were no longer struck in silver. The mint had shifted to a clad composition, a pure copper core sandwiched between layers of cupronickel, weighing 5.67 grams and measuring 24.26 millimeters in diameter. Each coin bore a reeded edge, and the mint mark, the small d near the date, indicated it was produced at the Denver Mint. This seemingly minor detail would become crucial for collectors hunting rare varieties. Even in large-scale production, perfection is not guaranteed. Die errors, misalignments, and subtle anomalies sometimes escaped the mint's scrutiny. Some 1978 D quarters emerged with doubled dies, misaligned strikes, die cracks, or other striking irregularities. To the average person, these coins appeared as ordinary change. To a keen collector, these small imperfections were gateways to extraordinary value. Collectors are drawn to these coins not just for their rarity, but for the story they tell. Each error is a moment frozen in time, a glimpse behind the curtain of mass production, a flaw that turned an ordinary coin into a collectible treasure. The thrill of discovery, the idea that one might stumble upon a valuable error in a jar of spare change, fuels the imagination of numismatists worldwide. Condition matters as much as the error itself. Coins graded in mint state, MS, such as MS 65 or higher, retain their original luster and sharp details, untouched by circulation. A circulated error might be worth a few $1,000s, but an uncirculated, high-grade 1978 D error quarter transforms into a piece capable of reaching extraordinary figures. Stories of discovery abound. Some coins were found in rolls directly from banks, tucked away by collectors who knew what to look for. Others surfaced decades later, discovered in old change jars or forgotten coin collections. Each discovery rekindles the excitement and wonder that drives the hunt for rare coins. Point 1. Exceptional 1978 D. Washington quarter-error coin. Preserved in near-perfect condition. Demonstrated this perfectly. Experts authenticated the error and confirmed its mint state grade. The result was staggering. Collectors paid between $127,000 and $267,000 to acquire a single quarter, a reminder that even everyday coins can carry immense hidden value. This is the psychological thrill of numismatics. The idea that treasure might lie unnoticed in your pocket, in your wallet, or in a jar of coins, waiting for someone observant enough to recognize it. Ordinary money becomes extraordinary when history, error, and preservation converge. If you happen to have a 1978 D. Washington quarter in this condition, you could be holding one of the luckiest small treasures in the world. It's a reminder that valuable discoveries don't always require a map or a chest. They sometimes rest quietly in plain sight, waiting for eyes willing to see the extraordinary in the ordinary. So the next time you handle spare change, examine each coin. Look closely at the date, the mint mark, the letters, and the edges. Rotate the coin under light. Subtle anomalies may reveal that what appears ordinary is, in fact, a hidden treasure capable of changing everything. The next life-changing discovery could already be in your pocket.